The interesting thing about volunteering is that we never really know, do we, what's going to come of it? What's going to happen to the people that we lead, the young men and women when they grow up. I've got a den of 9 very cantankerous wolf cubs, and sometimes I wonder what impact they're going to have on the world, apart from destroying the church basement where we meet. But really, will one of them one day go on to be a Secretary of State like Rex Tillerson? Will they contribute in some other way, right? So this question kind of made me look back on the scouting volunteers who influenced my own life, the people who gave up their own weekends so I could do scout camping, and also to think about the people who influenced them. And for a couple of minutes, I'd like to ask us all to take a brief look at the impact of volunteers by going backward in time and then forward by 2 generations of scout leaders to see what happened. And this is the people who happen to be involved in my life. The first one here is Dr. John Richardson. We got a picture of Dr. Richardson. There he is. He was my scoutmaster when I became an Eagle back in 1982, a cantankerous veterinarian. And this picture, this hairy young man, is me at age 14. I will tell you, it's been a long time since I've had hat head. Yeah, thank you for laughing extra at that. I appreciate that, really. Once in a while, I call Dr. Richardson, to ask him advice because he was a key guy who inspired me to become a volunteer. According to John Richardson, though, he was influenced to volunteer in scouting by this man, Ed Miller, his own scout leader, who was his scoutmaster when he became an Eagle in about 1950 in this place in East Lansing, Michigan, in the middle of that map. People's Church was the place. Now, besides John Richardson, Ed Miller also influenced several other scouts of Richardson's generation to also become leaders later in life. And I don't have all their names, but these folks, like Richardson, have meaningfully volunteered in scouting on their own. Okay, so that's the lineage that influenced me. But let's also look at others in my generation who were also influenced by John Richardson. I call this the Reservoir Dogs picture. This is me and the 5 guys who I grew up with, whom I asked to stand up at my wedding. All 6 of us happened to be Eagle Scouts, and all of us were led by John Richardson. 4 of us 6, thank you. 4 of us 6 have spent significant time as scout leaders. This one is my buddy Lou Brugman. Lou lives in Michigan still, where I grew up. He's been an assistant scoutmaster for 12 years and a scoutmaster for 5. He was a leader to about 125 scouts during his scoutmaster years, and 15 of them became Eagle. This next one is Mike Finnigan, one of my oldest friends. Michael Finnigan has now got a 9-year-old son, 8 or 9-year-old son, must be 8. He's a bear den leader in Orinda, in the Bay Area. He'll probably be a scout leader for about 10 years, I would guess, if his son stays in the program. And this one is Chuck Williams. Not our Chuck Williams, who we love dearly and thank for leading the Jamboree contingent, but my Chuck Williams on the far left of the picture. He's in Michigan, and he has been a scoutmaster, get this, for over 28 years. And he's led one of Michigan's most successful Boy Scout troops with a current membership of about 110 scouts. He has personally led an astounding 850 scouts over the years and 154 who became Eagle in his monumental career. Already 56 of his former scouts have become leaders on their own. He's been doing it that long. And 3 of them have become professionals in scouting. And then here's me. On the second from the right there. In my 16 years of scouting, it's been the time of my life, especially the past 7 years with my own 3 kids. On the left is Life Scout Joseph, my son, and Tiger Cub Danny, and thank you, and my daughter, who's a junior Girl Scout, Ani. And I'm proud to have worked with hundreds of kids in scouting too and helped dozens of them, including at least 2 who've told me that they followed my path to become a physician. Now, this is not about me. That's just to give you kind of the cadence of what happened. So that's 4 fired up scout leaders in my generation who were the product of one leader, John Richardson, who himself was in a generation of at least 4 boys influenced by their leader, Ed Miller. Okay? Now, let's do a little math. Looking at these generations of leaders, it looks like for each year he volunteers, each scout leader influences about one scout to one day become a leader himself. Chuck Williams, of course, is the exception because he's had a remarkable scouting career. But let's assume that that concept applies going forward as it does going backward. So we already know there were at least 4 leaders in John Richardson's generation from his troop, right? If each one of those leaders spent 5 years volunteering, let's say, that would be nearly 20 leaders in my generation serving scouting. And if we apply the same math to my generation, the volunteer offspring, let's call them, of just the guys I grew up with would be nearly 65 people. And if we lump in the volunteer offspring of our volunteer, let's call them cousins, this scouting family blooms to about 125, right? And then their generation would give rise to at least 600 more leaders in the future, and so on, and so on, and so on. This is exactly how the BSA has come to positively influence the lives of 115 million young men and women, with 34 million leaders in the years since 1910. But guess what? It doesn't end there, right? The influence of scout leaders goes far beyond our organization. Volunteer leadership from the people that you inspire can be given to hundreds of worthy organizations that serve our world, from youth services to medical to elder care, environmental causes, religious causes, addressing hunger. They're all very worthwhile. But, ladies and gentlemen, it all begins with you. Like the famed unknown scout in England, whose single good deed sparked the entire U.S. scouting movement, you, all of you, through your volunteerism, have already built your own scouting family tree, haven't you? So where's it going to grow? What's going to come of the boys that you lead? I'm worried that some of my Cub Scouts may go to jail one day, but I'm sure yours won't. I'm sure yours won't. Are they going to take a different kind of courage? Will one of them one day start his own nonprofit? Will one day become Secretary of State or President maybe? Whatever they do, it's the leadership in them that you've ignited that'll make it all possible. Friends, you have truly changed the world forever through your volunteering. Those of you who we recognize tonight, we can't possibly pay back the debt that society owes you for your service and the way you've changed the world. Thank you for all you've done, and God bless you. Thanks.